And again, good morning, everybody. I think most everybody, is there anybody who is new to us? Let's see. Anybody who's on the call or on our call who hasn't been with us before? No, good. Then the reason I'm primarily asking is so I don't go through my little spiel about recording, but I am recording now. So anyway, so welcome. How's everybody doing? Good. I have a poll for you. I have a poll I've got two polls today. So, but the first one is a feeling one. And, earlier on in the summer, or I guess it was in the spring, Naomi from Wayzata had come up with the wonderful feeling uncertain but hopeful. So I turned that into a poll for today. And this is on a scale of 1 to 5. And you can let us know how you're feeling from hopeful is 1 to uncertain is a 5. So there you go. All right, great. End the poll and share the results. Okay. So nice little bell curve there, somewhere in the middle. The two of you who are feeling closer to uncertain, is there anything you'd like to bring up or ask the group to help you with? Or maybe just being here will be helpful.
I almost said 5, uncertain, but then I didn't want to scare Karen and Shelley because they're in my program. But we did all this prep, and we've got, like, on Thursdays our lottery, and we have people registered, and and yet staff are going to report on Tuesday, and I'm really scared about that.
Yeah.
So Christy, I'm the other one who put 4. But I'm super curious about your response, because how has your enrollment been with your fabulous catalog from 196?
Well, it's decent, but lower than usual, and we aren't starting until September 21st, so we're not really sure how to read that.
Got it. I'll just say that my uncertainty is around, I still don't have an assignment. And I read in an email that someone forwarded me today that was sent to families that our ECFE, how did our coordinator Leah put it? We need more time to re-envision our ECFE, so we're hopeful that we can figure something out. And all parent ed will go online, which I already knew, but won't start until October 19th, which I didn't know. So that was a little rough to find out in an email to families. So I have no idea what's going on.
That doesn't feel good.
I almost put 5.
I was gonna just chime in. Prior Lake Savage, we actually had a ECFE in-person chat meeting planning last Thursday. I left there feeling pretty optimistic about a lot of things. We did have the opportunity to give a lot of staff design to the plan, and I felt really optimistic about virtually all the parent ed pieces of ECFE is going to start out virtually. Which I think also addressed a lot of concerns people had for trying to, parent ed and have kids there and all this type of thing. So there were some really positive things that came from the opportunity we had to engage with admin into how to do this. So I felt really hopeful about that. but I'm feeling a little less hopeful and maybe a little more in the middle right now, just hearing about Bloomington's decision to do all distance that was announced this morning, and knowing that our schedule really wasn't going to start till the third week of September as well. So there's just so much time between now and then for the changing that could happen. Like, I wish last week we could have like got it going and started, because I think there was so much optimism, and that's tricky right now.
And I had the same feeling too, Trina. Like, I was very optimistic, and then the only thing that we talked about in our meeting was our preschool, and how we need to change everything for our preschool. We need to lower numbers. We need to up tuition. We're taking away transportation for families, and this, that, and the other thing. And then our coordinator basically said, yep, and we're probably dissolving ECFE for this first quarter. And I just about died, because there went my job, right? And so I piped up and I said, can we at least try to start outside and do an outside nature thing, just for the sake of, we don't want to lose our families. I don't want to find a job at McDonald's. Like, there's just things that, yeah. So I put myself in the middle, because at least we're optimistic that tomorrow we're meeting as the ECFE staff and saying, nope, this is what we want to do, and this is how we think we need to do it. Otherwise, we're going to lose our families, and our programs are going to just be terrible. And so I put myself in the middle, just because at least we're meeting and we're going to try to figure it out. So otherwise, I would have been at an uncertain 2 for 5. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you. A few of you who joined us, I had just thrown up a poll on a scale of 1 to 5, from 1 meaning hopeful to 5 in uncertain. And so we're talking about how folks responded there. And for those of you who have joined us, if you would like to share verbally, as you will or want to, kind of where you see yourself at this point.
Which way does the scale go again?
Oh, here, I can actually, I've got the power. I'll show you the poll. Let's see, here it is. We'll share the results. There they go. Okay, so 1 is hopeful, 5 is uncertain. You can see we have 4 more now. So you can see kind of where folks were at, kind of a nice little bell curve there. And the more uncertain folks were, kind of obviously, as things are a little bit shaky, and with things being put off and delayed, there's the potential for change. So
I think I'm somewhere in the middle there. We had a meeting yesterday, and we have a pretty good plan going forward for our ECFE. It's going to be all online. But I also found out that I'm going to be teaching preschool because of having to split our classes up so much. And I haven't done that in a long time. So I was a little nervous. I'm a little nervous about it, but kind of, I have mixed feelings, because I'm excited to do it. I'm just nervous with all the steps I have to take, and transforming my room and all the things that I'm going to have to do. So.
I was came in later, and I'm probably in the middle too. I mean, I feel so, I'm trying to not feel guilty that I'm in ECFE and not in elementary, because I just feel like other people have it really hard, because we have a really supportive program coordinator, and she's given us a lot of latitude. But it still feels like, how is it really going to work? And our desks right now are like right across from each other. And so she said, we'll put up plexiglass. And then I think of the studies in China that showed how you're in a restaurant and everybody's sharing the same air. And so then I'm, so I have those uncertainties just about being in the building again. And concerns about what are families really going to need to support them, and the challenge of contacting families and trying to get feedback from them. We met last week, so we're going to have meet with our advisory group, and we're going to send out a Google survey. But you know how you get mixed results from those kinds of things, and some of the most needy families are not going to be the ones that respond. And so how do we really find out what those who are hurting need? So actually, as I talk, I'm like more uncertain. So
And Lorraine, which school district are you with?
I'm in Wilmer with Wilmer Public Schools with Carrie, has been on a couple times, and Jody Wambeck. Many people know Jody.
Yep. Okay.
She's our coordinator.
Great.
I came on late too. I'm in Duluth, and I coordinate our ECFE program, and I'm in a district with a new superintendent and a new assistant superintendent and a new curriculum director in our district. So neither superintendent or assistant superintendent are from Minnesota, so they don't have really any grasp of what ECFE is. But you know, my community ed director is very vocal, and we have a strong early childhood team. So I feel, when I listened to you talk, I thought I felt really confident, but now I feel, you know, the more that we talk, the more our heads spin, I think, a little bit about just all of the details and how do we support each other and how do we support our families. And I feel like we have a nice, solid foundation. Actually, really I'm thankful for Christy, what Christy sent and shared last week, so that we could kind of tweak it and make it our own. That's totally what I did. I'm not gonna lie, I stole it. So thank you. And I meet with my staff on Thursday. They haven't seen it. We've just had a lot of brainstorming happening up until now, and I think I might share it with them so that they have a day or two to read it, just knowing it's fully a draft, and then we can meet on Thursday and talk through at least how we can serve. I mean, we registered last spring, so we have full knowledge of who at least registered spring up until now. Our registration is very low. We've cut classes, and we're gonna do the best we can and be flexible with families. And yeah, that's where we're at. We wonder about tuition, we wonder about barriers, we wonder about comfort level of people coming together. We sent out a survey, so we have pretty good information that families do want some in person, they do want some online, some don't want anything. But like you said, the families who are the hardest to reach, they're not the ones who are responding to surveys. So generally, that's where we're at in Duluth right now. Just a whole bunch of waiting. I feel like we're just waiting to react. And I don't know how long we can wait to react to what the rest of the district is doing, and then we have to react. So that it stinks to be in this spot, and it stinks to have to be a constant advocate for your program 20 years in, 40 years in. ECFE's been here for 40 plus years, and we're still like fighting for this program that we know is so effective and fantastic. And so it's just, I'm tired of it, but I'm looking for inspiration if you have any.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I was laughing when you were talking, Jen, because I mean, it's so, it is just the case where, you go into something with a feeling, it's almost like better that you don't have the discussion, because it's like, I was feeling hopeful. So what are you hopeful for though? I mean, because, if there's, and Christy knows, I'm getting this from, the survey results and everything, is one of the things that truly makes it such an honor to work with you all is your sense of resilience and your grit, you know, and you're seeing it through, and your resilience and your willingness to continue to fight for what you believe in with a program like this. And after, you know, 20, 30 years, and it's tough. I mean, I can tell you, as giving leadership to the family education program, that is a program that at the University of Minnesota also has seen a lot of movement, and from one department to another department to another department, and kind of that, well, you don't really fit completely in education because we don't know what to do with families, and you don't really fit in family work because we really don't know what to do with education. So I get it. And so I'm just so always, though, impressed by your resilience. And so what is hopeful? Like, for those of you that were, even none of you were at a 5, because there was a dose of hope in there somewhere. So what is hopeful about your planning right now in this time of uncertainty?
Well, what gives me hope is my staff. They are amazing, and they're master problem solvers, and they're masters at having tough conversations with parents and with principals. And so I have hope with the people, and I have hope with their families. Our families want this. They need each other. They need somebody to organize a community for them. And so that's what gives me hope.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jen.
I was going to say that mine are kind of combined. I'm hopeful for many of the same reasons that Jen is commenting. That I just think that our staff, whether it's across the state or in the district in which I work, master problem solvers, I think is a great word that you used. I think that people are so creative and resilient, and really willing to work very, very hard for the good of the entire community. The reason I combine it is because I feel, I will say, even stress about some of the things I've been reading, coming from things from our state and from our district, indicating that, so my district is calling our back to school plan, I think it's called like distance learning plus, because we're going back to distance learning, and they're trying to assure the families that this is not the same distance learning as what it was. It's going to be enhanced, and we have more time to plan, and we know what we're doing now. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, why is this different? I mean, yeah, we have learned a lot through our own navigation of it and our problem solving and our experiences, but as a collective and as a district or with the administration, we've not been advised, we've not been asked, we've not been, I'm not clear how this is distance learning plus now. And so that's my cause for concern. But like Jen said, I think, I feel like because of parent and family educators and early childhood staff, I feel like we're in good hands because it's the right hands. So I actually had put myself as a 2. Surprisingly, I think, to say to you, because of how I'm describing it, you might think that I would have put myself as like a 3 or a 4. I did put myself as a 2 because I think that I'm so much in alignment with what was said earlier about the staff and the capacity to build community and listen to our families and hear and find them and to connect with them and find out, because we know many are struggling. And like was said earlier, those are probably not the families that are going to answer our surveys.
Thanks, Nikki. Welcome, Greta. We are talking about being uncertain but hopeful. And I had shared, I did a little poll of sort of 1 to 5 where folks were on a scale. I think one thing that you can see, sorry, this is the geek in me coming out, is as people are talking about the number that they came up with, we can see that our self-ratings are very relative. Which is why it's always good to have the qualitative information behind the reasoning on where people saw themselves. anyway, so folks are sharing where they are between feeling more uncertain at this point or where they're optimistic and feeling hopeful. So where are you about these days, Greta, in the planning? And sorry to put you on the spot.
Okay, my link wasn't working, so I wasn't able to get in here. I'm not sure what happened, but your U of M tech help support got me in, so we're good. So I apologize. I don't know the question.
Oh, about so we did a little baby poll of sort of where folks were feeling at this point from a 1 to a 5 in feeling feeling hopeful looking into the new school year to feeling more uncertain at this point. And it's really been a very I think revealing complexity of responses in terms of later, you know, a lot of things still could happen, still things are in flux. Very strong support from coordinators and staff and folks that are feeling pretty resilient. So kind of a mixture in terms of planning and what's coming up.
Yeah, so we're kind of we're developing frameworks that we still have to plug specific classes into. We're here in Cambridge, Standing Schools, going to be in person and also offering others. And it's just, we're looking off site because they want to use our space possibly if we have to provide childcare for staff, if we have to go to a distant or a hybrid and go every other, then all of a sudden we have all these kids we need to take care of. So they're still in the midst of doing that. It's hard. It's I like to call it, I'm living in a liminal space, the space between spaces. You're like in this hallway and you're left something and you're going someplace else, but you're not sure where you're going to yet. And it's like, okay, what should I be doing? And I don't even know because I don't know what's coming. And so it's a really tricky, a liminal space is a really hard space to walk in for a long time. And I feel like we've been doing it for a while now. That's what's hard. Even if we knew it was around the corner, it would help and I could just be processing, right? And you could be planning. Yeah. And is that kind of what you guys are talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I have a question. So much of what we're doing, we have to kind of wait. It's a waiting game. It's a little bit of action, then it's a lot of waiting, and then it's some action, it's some negotiation, all that, and then it's a waiting game. And we've talked about the fact that we're hearing responses from parents, and those are parents that would typically come into our classes, but we're missing a group of people. And this is a question that to me is important, but it might not be important to you. So if not, let's move it on. But what are some things that we can do to reach out to those families that we're not hearing from? And how can we do that?
Yeah. It is an excellent question, Karen, and I appreciate your bringing it up because it is an equity and access point. And as we're looking ahead to the, I'll just put out a reminder. So as I said in my email this morning, and I'm coming back to the equity thing, is so next week our conversations will have, there's going to be three ones on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, not on Tuesday, and they're going to be complementary to the later workshop in September with Menafee. And so, but they're not exclusive. So they're open to everyone. And part of one of those 3 themes that we're going to be focusing on at the 25th actually has been very much reinforced from the survey research from the springtime with the educators. And one of those really key areas that came up, whether we're talking about what was successful, what did you need as you look ahead, was equity and access. And so I'm really glad that you brought that up because I would love to hear from others. I mean, I have some top of mind thoughts about that, and I'll just throw that out. What I'm thinking is one of the things we do in research is if we can't talk to a specific individual, we will talk to a representative individual, right? And so you're getting the perspective of others that again are representative of the group of people that you're trying to reach. And it's not perfect, but it gives you, like this morning on my walk, I saw a really nice thing about, I understand that I'll never fully understand, but know that I support you. And it was about Black Lives Matter, right? And so it's the still being able to get the perspective of somebody that we are seeking, you know, somebody beyond maybe our traditional audience or sort of those that we often would hear from. So I would just say one strategy might be that if you can't reach specific families, might be to, if there's a way that you can see representative data or representative families. So, and with that, I'll shut up, and I'm very eager to hear what others have to say.
I also look forward to hearing what others have to say. And I have one idea to put forward, and that is sometimes families, maybe they don't reach out on behalf of their early childhood children. They may be struggling, but the concerns as they arise, if they're, I think, around behavior or around interactions or parenting, more often, I think, as the kids get a little bit older, they might start to say, oh, I think maybe we really do need some support. And one of the things that my district has been doing is we've got a Google form that goes to our elementary schools. So for the birth to third grade alignment, and the Google form allows the families to request a parent and family educator. So especially like when teachers are experiencing challenging behavior with kids in the classroom, which will look obviously different this year as they won't be in the classroom, they're able to talk with families and ask, you know, are you experiencing these things at home? Are you seeing the same things at home? And if the families are expressing yes, and they'll offer the opportunity for just some interaction and collaboration with a parent family educator. So through that, I think what we find is that they reached out on behalf of their second grader or their kindergartner or whatnot, but they have early childhood kids. And so that is one of the ways that I think we find ourselves reaching some families that we might not have otherwise reached. But that's just one idea. And I look forward to hearing how other people feel like you're finding them and reaching them.
I will give what we're kind of doing around here. I mean, and it's the same thing that we've always done is I really try to collaborate with our county. So WIC and our home health nurses and really try to keep a tight relationship with them. So that's what we do here, and we get a lot of referrals that way. But I also love that, Nikki, we're trying more and more to, you know, really, I mean, we're in the school, we're an E2 school now, and we're trying to figure out ways to make sure that they know that we are a resource for their older kiddos too, and that's a great idea.
I'll jump in. Sorry, I was distracted with something. So if someone said this, please let me know. But we are talking about how to have interpreters on our Zoom calls. And had a couple of people try having the interpreter and the parent on, and then the interpreter and the parent are on the phone with each other. And a couple of people had some success with that. So trying, you know, once you do something like that, word spreads that you will do something like that in the community. It's just one example of, you think, oh, how would we ever do that? And it's easy to dismiss that it would be too hard and too much echo and too much of a disruption. But a couple people just tried it. Like, I think sometimes it's just trying some things.
One reflection that I had was, you know, earlier on, was it Ellen. Anyway, oh no, Melissa, either, maybe both. Anyway, they talked about office hours, right? And having an available drop-in time, and you know, they were in their office doing work anyway and just making it available. You know, and I think sometimes what I see, at least with some students that are a little quieter, is when they may not respond to a survey, but if there again is that consistency of I'm here when you need me, or I'm here and available. And so it could be 3 months in, it could be middle of November or something, but a parent that it's just like, I really need to talk to somebody. Oh, that's right. That really nice white woman from ECFE, like she made herself available. What was that link? You know, and then, but again, and this is the virtual thing, is that we don't just throw things out there once, right? But that is a constant thing. Like, I mean, even with our Zoom call, I cannot make an assumption that because I have said it before, or I have linked it somewhere or something like that, that people are going to remember, they're going to bookmark it or all of that, like techie stuff. And so anyway, my message, Karen, I think, is just the value of our constant presence, our available presence, and rather than asking people to fit themselves into the slots, is that when we have the space to be available, that we're just there or whatever.
Yep. I keep thinking of key people. Who are the key people? Are there people that have usually come to classes that are not coming to classes right now? That would be a key person just to call, to check in. How are you doing? What do you need? And then that word, like you had mentioned, gets around. And I'm thinking of going back the old days, like the really old days, like the 80s, when we first started and we were knocking on doors and we were going to apartments and we were, I mean, you know, all of that. You know, being in a laundromat, being in a children's library, whatever our outreach was, we did it. And I'm wondering if we need to go back to some of that. I'm thinking of key people in the community that are not in ECFE, but are maybe have a strong, I think of a Somali mom who has a strong group of whether it's her clan or whether it's her people, but that would be a key person. I always think about the people who can't make it. That's, and so there are people who can't make it because they don't want to. Fine. There are people who can't make it because there are other barriers. And I always think, well, what are those barriers and how do we get around it? So I know I'm going on, but that's what's in my head right now. And always looking for the missing voices. We can move on.
Well, I'll just throw in one other thing is, is this sometimes those voices aren't female.
Yeah.
And you guys all know that, right? We did research, we did one-on-one interviews 3 years ago, and again, working with Parentopia, but it was broader because it was about engagement and about learning and all of this stuff. And 6 out of the 25 were dads, and we wanted that, but we had, there was one of our sample ended up being, just by pure luck, an African-American grandfather who was the primary custodial, source for 3 of his grandchildren. And it was so wonderful, enlightening to listen to his interview, because he had faced a lifetime of being a single parent and just facing all of this bias from the system, that A, he was male, and B, he was a single dad, and C, because he was Black, right? And so what did he know about parenting these kids? And it's like, it doesn't matter because he is, right? And so, and his big comment about coming to ECFE was, and he talked about the white women there, was how open and welcoming they were. And when he walked in, there was no perception of bias. There was just this open sense of, we want you here. And they were so skilled at where they were to turn to him for his voice of expertise. Right? You've raised 4 children, now you have grandchildren, your voice is really welcome here. And so anyway, I'll just throw that out, that I think sometimes in our search for listening to voices we don't hear, we feel very lucky to hear from immigrant women, you know, or immigrant moms, and you know, and when in a lot of communities, men have stepped up to be the primary caregivers, or may still hold a patriarchal role of allowing female presence in programs. So, yeah. Thank you. I have another poll for you. But I don't want to go to that because it's kind of a technical thing about how you're programming, and this is all helping to inform me. So I don't want to do that until I reach out back to the group. And again, welcome, Sarah, Sarah Frisch. We just sort of bulldozed in as you came in.
I couldn't get in either. I couldn't. Greta was emailing me, and then I was emailing her. We couldn't get in. Sorry.
So, just briefly, what was the
It was
issue?
asking us for like a password.
Yeah, me too. I had to go back to the link from several weeks ago. It happened
Yep.
last week too.
Yep.
So I've had run into that. You're asked for like a U of M ID and password.
Uh-huh.
You click on the link, and the way I get around that is I open Zoom, and then the meeting ID, actually Zoom remembers the meeting ID. So if you say join a meeting, and then there's the blank spot to enter the meeting ID, it's a drop down list. So just choose the one that says parent educators, and that's the one.
Nice. Thanks.
What the tech had me do is on the link that was in the email, it had the word meeting in there, and they had me take meeting out and put in J. And then it brought me right to you.
So,
I don't know.
I'm sorry what that happened, because I set up the link to the Zoom call before the university. Like I did this, I think in the middle of April, late April. And then the university said, no, Zoom needs to be password protected. And then, but what they had said to us was anything from that point on, when this message came through, that needed to have the password. But you needed it, but because I set the link up before, we hadn't needed the password. So I think, I don't know, something in the system, I think, as they're gearing up for the fall is kicking in.
I was wondering if that was the case, but I also am in my office. And so I've always been at home. So I thought maybe it was on my end, maybe because I'm in the network here at school now, that maybe it didn't recognize it. So
yeah. And the nice thing is when you set up a thing and then you put it into a Google Calendar, or you invite people as it gives them like half a page of text. That is just so ridiculous, because there's like the link, and then there's like, if you're in China or you're in Greenland, you know. Oh, but there's a password that's in there. So maybe as we move into the fall, I'll have a different link, and it'll have a password in there if anybody needs it. So what else? What else would?
I have a question.
Yes.
In terms of hope, I'm wondering if people would share like their 2 things that are out of the box that they're planning to do that they're most excited and hopeful about. Like, and this comes up, like, Jen, hearing you talk about what you're doing in Duluth, I was just thinking, okay, you're presenting your plan, but what are the 2 things that you're super excited about that's different than what you've done before?
We're gonna do those the office hours too with our whole team. So with our early childhood and our parent eds, so that we have different times during the week that we have that space available for people. And we're offering a lot more evening slots too. And I'm excited about that because I feel like we're going to be able to reach a lot of people that we weren't with just our typical ECFE classes.
I think I'm hopeful that I'm hopeful that we're not really changing a lot. Like we're going to be outside, so that's a huge change. Like we're starting outside, and hopefully the weather's going to be great, and we're hardy and wear the right clothes, and let's do it. I'm hopeful. So once the teachers come back on schedule, they're all going to just start making calls to parents who've registered so that they can start their relationship right then and there, versus waiting for a group to come together and everybody's nervous and anxious. So they're going to have tough conversations already with those phone calls. And that's hundreds and hundreds of calls for some people who work full time, right? So it's a lot of conversations and a lot of calls. But I don't think that's not anything different than we did in the spring. Like that's how we supported a lot of parents, was through long phone calls, like a virtual home visit. And those were the most meaningful conversations. They had Zoom meetings, which were great, but the meaningful support was through personal phone calls, and it took a lot of time, but they were in it. And some of them have continued a relationship over summer because they know some parents really need a lot of support, and they've just continued to have the relationship even though they know they're not getting paid to do it, but they do it. And I hope there's not boundary issues there. We keep talking about boundaries, about personal boundaries, and just making sure that you're keeping yourself healthy and those sorts of things. But my staff are dedicated, and they do it. I guess that's what keeps me hopeful, is that I know that the relationships are continued.
I'm feeling really hopeful about, we did a lot of looking at how to best use, since we aren't going to have any sibling care, like planning for multi-ages. And we've always tried to tap into some of the K through 8-year-old needs, but with little success. And we're hopeful. I think the plans we put in place for in-person being multi-aged are going to open up a whole new opportunity to maybe reach some of those families that are struggling at this time. And I think thinking outside the box with those age levels was refreshing, because so often in my experience, we've done really age specific offerings. So we also came up with an idea of doing some pod learning. So if there's some pods of neighbors that have been playing all summer and would like to enroll with multi-age groupings, we are having an option for them to enroll together, which is different than we've normally done. We always want to, of course, be inclusive of other people joining, but we also feel it's kind of a reality right now where people might be more willing to come with their people they've been playing with all summer. So those were two kind of newer ideas that I felt really are looking at our current situation and being hopeful about programming to meet the needs.
I love it. Pre-K pods. I can just see them now all over. And we just go pod to pod. We're like pod leapers. Anyway, it has so many fun possibilities, and it can be a great thing.
I'm seeing frogs, Karen. Frogs.
There you go. Yep.
Pod leapers from pod to, yeah.
That's a chicken. It's not a frog. Sorry. Yeah, I think you got it.
I like that, Katrina. That sounds really good. We haven't thought about that at all, but I'm gonna bring it up. We have a meeting tonight, so I like that.
We are going to do the pod idea too, but it really, like you said, I think so often in the past we're trying to mix families and help people meet new people, and so it feels a little like we're going against our philosophy of inclusion, because we're saying, like, if you have a clique, come with your clique. But we're going to do it anyway, because we had a little event last night, this little books and baseball, that was totally different. You know, usually it's a baseball game and they go down on the field and sit by the players, but people still came, but we saw some families sitting together in little pockets in the stadium. And it was like, okay, they have their pod. Now, how do we connect them? And that was when we talk about things that make us hopeful, just seeing the families again. The only advertisement we did was social media, and they came to this baseball game. They didn't get to do things the same way, but they got a book and they got their hot dog and they got to see 5 players on the field. And it was the cutest thing ever when the players on the field each had a book and then they just took turns reading some of the pages. And I looked up in the stands and there are all of these families with their book and they're all looking and the little kids are pointing and I mean I get goosebumps today, and I was like, we can do this, like we can do it different, and it and it's okay. In some ways it was better because it was just geared for our little people. They only had to be there an hour. They didn't have to try and be there for a whole baseball game. Families didn't have to worry about them interrupting somebody else because it was only preschool families scattered throughout. So I think just that reminder of our families and our kids are resilient. Like the kids don't know that it's not supposed to be like this. They don't know that we have never been outside, done class outside. The other thing I was going to mention is we're going to try some ECFE in a box. So kind of like a subscription box. I think people have talked about it before, but we kind of changed what we were going to order, kind of supplies that we were going to order. We pitched those out the window because we're not going to have as much in-class stuff. And then they're doing kind of these, we're creating 4 themed boxes that, and they could sign up for 1 a month, and we'll just see how it works. We're targeting 20 boxes per theme, so I can let you know how that goes.
Are those gonna be like for families that aren't coming to your other, like, are you able to do any classes, Lorraine? I didn't know what you guys are doing over there, but is that, who are you gearing your ECFE in the box to?
I think if I got it, if I understand it right, it's also still in process. I think it's going to be for, kind of like we put it on social media. You can sign up for a box and they would do an online registration like for a class, but then there would be a time where they come to the school and pick it up. So the issue that I have with that is that that's still a barrier. Like, what about those families who really need, I have one mama in particular, doesn't drive, it's like, how do we, so we're going to look at how we could distribute the boxes similar to when they did the lunches in the neighborhoods. But it's kind of, again, it's still like, okay, how is this going to work? We also, in meeting with our advisory team, we're really trying to get input from families. So, like they know, they have ideas. What do they suggest? How do we get it out there?
Is the box like activities for them to do with their kids? Is there any parenting piece to it? Or is it, what is it?
The box is going to mainly be, I mean, it's the thought is that it's ECFE in a box. So we're really going to try and do, some sort of kind of circle time, rhymes, music, some kind of craft activity that our early childhood person is putting together. And then I will have a parent ed component that I'm still trying to figure out how to, do it thematically. I'll probably have something that'll be more literacy based and promoting literacy and some of those kind of general topics, maybe one on behavior, one on, and then our thought is that we had done a few YouTube videos, so that we do kind of a YouTube video that's kind of instructing you how you could use the box, singing the sample songs, and then showing like, oh, this is what we're going to do with all the things in it, where we would like play with the box and put it in, do a video.
I'm sharing, this is a sort of this is a technological method of sort of, as you're talking about the box, which I think is great, and I'm reflecting on the question about what's out of the box while ECFE is in the box, is in doing research for this United Nations paper, I stumbled on this, and I'm not sure whether this is from Canada or Australia, anyway, but they have adapted their similar-ish type of early childhood / family support program to these PDFs that they release every week. And what I liked about it, and I was going to ask you, just share this to see if it would be a useful idea, but they each week, so they send it out, but then each of the boxes, so there's like parent, there's circle time and stuff like that, but the links go to a YouTube video. And so it's very asynchronous, and it can be delivered through email. And then I think the other thing about it is it's organized. So if you wanted to do, day 1, day 2, so if a parent, it's almost like when my kid was in elementary school, I loved that I could depend on the Wednesday folder, right? Because that's when the material came home. And anyway, it's just one example of, so that if parents, I was thinking, Lorraine, when you talked about, if parents physically can't come, one is to talk about, and there's hard copy materials or a box of materials, then how do you distribute it to the individual families? If it's a matter of things to do that could virtually be engaged in, that you could organize them in a document. But the key with the document is that the links are interactive. The links are live.
So we did that. So when we went to distance learning, we used Seesaw, but it didn't have to be a Seesaw thing at all. But we just did a Google slide for ECFE, and on that Google slide we had interactive links, and pictures and whatnot, interactive pictures. And so we sent out that once a week. And so they could click on, like, here's our story for the week. Here's our song for the week. Here's a video of Miss Molly doing, 5 little monkeys for you. Here's Miss Sarah reading our story. And so we had that Google slide that they could hit on all those live links. And then the nice thing is that our district put that on our district website too. And so all our families could go right on our district website and then go underneath ECFE and the district website and find that. And so that was open to anybody. So I thought that was, so when you're talking about that, Lori, that makes me think of, like, you could interact both of those at the same time. Like, you could have the box, so we have some hands-on business, and then you have I like it.
Kara, can you share that? Because it's so cute. You shared it with me this spring, and they had a really cute little format, caricature and cartoony.
I can share it.
Yeah.
That's great. I find that I don't know, is anybody else get nervous about what the technology requires to make all that happen? Okay. So I just need to up my
I know, like, I am so not. I couldn't get on today. Let's just put that out there. So it doesn't take much. It takes, like, learning how to basically, embed a link. So, and that's why we're kind of doing the Google slide thing. Google slides are so easy. It's just,
I was going to say, is that what you found the easiest?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I learned how to film. I didn't know how to film. I learned how to upload to YouTube. Like, I can learn how to do this, right?
And I think that one of the things that is good professional sharing practice is somehow, if we can, and I know as I say this, you're going to go, great, exactly, Susan, when do I have that time? is to share something, but then give here are the 5 steps of how I made this happen, like how I did this, because what might come easily to me, right, I know for others might seem a challenge. And so it's just like, well, break it down. Like, just like step 1, I did this, step 2, I did this, and because a lot of times I have seen a huge difference jump in technology in the last 5 years of, like when I upload our MP4 files onto YouTube, all I need to do is to go onto YouTube and there's a little icon with a plus, and it like asks me 3 questions and it's up, right? And so if we can in our sharing also, when we can, like also offer that step-by-step assistance of how to do it, I think that would be really helpful. Again, it doesn't assume that people know stuff, but from those of us, and I've also found sometimes by going to tech support, is that either A, they make it way more complicated than it needs to be, or they're talking up here, and or the bigger thing is that it's totally not applied to our work. And so sometimes just hearing from a peer, like these are the 3 things I did, and it wasn't that hard, so anyway.
I have a technology question. Can I ask, does anybody have plans to use this emoji classroom thing? Okay, Julia, you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm also not very techy, but I was just gonna say that I went on YouTube and just Googled tutorials on how to do it. And then it was visual too, because the person was doing it right in front of me, so I could watch each step. And then it shows you how to embed a link into and it is in Google Slides. And so so each week you change it. We don't know how, like I use Seesaw right now, so I don't know what platform they're going to use to put this classroom in, but then in each week it changes the link, so that it'll have a link to the story and a link to me doing something. I haven't figured it all out yet, but it does look really cute.
And you can, Julia, because we use Seesaw, and you can put your Google slide right into Seesaw. They just have to do like one more click. It's like a click and a click.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I would love if somehow with this community, we could have like a discussion forum of just technology how-tos. I'm trying to do this. Has anybody done that? How did you do it? Because honestly, in my work on this stuff, it's not about content delivery. I mean, like Karen's question on equity, I mean, that's why we're, in the workshop, we're going to talk about different big things, relationship building and maintaining. But there's also this really reductive thing of technology how-to. How did you do that? How did you upload that video? How did you create that screencast-o-matic, thing of, how did you do the story time? And and again, I think just opening up and having that space for the confidence of knowing I've got people I can just simply ask, how did they do that? I don't know how we'll do it, but anyway, so.
It's fun though. Fun. Learning's always fun.
It is fun. It is fun. It just gives you more tools in your toolbox, right? And then it's choice, and that's flexibility, and you can go, well, I know how to create a poll, but I don't need it. I know how to, create this video, but for my teaching right now, I don't need it. But if I do, then I do,
I have to say, as a staff, so when we were getting, and I know we're overtime or whatever, but when we were getting super stressed, like it was, this spring was a lot, right? And then all of a sudden, I don't know why the Bitmoji thing started happening. I don't know. I can't tell you what happened. And it was hilarious because then everybody figured out how to get their own. All of our teachers got their own Bitmoji. And then anytime we were like doing our little chat on our Gmail, everybody was slapping their Bitmojis on. And I will tell you, like, that was one of the best things that happened to us this spring. It seems little and ridiculous and not that important, but I think it was really important for us. I really do.
You
Yeah, I
add
think
that element of play and humor, and it also, there's something, I don't know, what is it, approachable about Bitmojis. Like, you see into the person a little bit more if they're wearing bunny ears or they've got their slippers on, or I get, that's a great idea.
I think I might have shared this before, but one of the preschool teachers made these little Bitmoji like people, and so then gave them to her preschool class, and so the kids would take us places and take pictures and upload them, and then the team that I work with, like one of them just got back from Boston, and she's got all of us out on the beach in Boston having a drink. It was like, so it kind of connects you as a staff as well. But the kids loved seeing, where their teachers went and taking them to the park, and so that was just kind of that fun connection as well.
Shelley, is there a way that the instructions on creating the staff emoji, Bitmoji puppets or whatever can be shared?
I didn't do it, but I'll ask the preschool teacher who did it and see if I can get some simple instructions.
Okay, because the wheels are turning for our September 25th workshop. That how great would it be if everybody had their little Bitmoji person?
Yeah. I'll look at it and get back to you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. This has been a great conversation. Thank you for being so open and trusting the group with your thoughts on how you're feeling now. And it is a really challenging time. I mean, there's just something in the news yesterday about the University of North Carolina, how they started in person and then tested 130 students and found they had COVID and then canceled. And so, it's, who knows, right? But we're ending on an up note with great ideas. And I appreciate, questions about hopefulness and great ideas, and also your willingness to share. That to me is the key. And I think if anything with technology, it's just a matter of finding the mechanism and then the space that everybody is common to people, right? Rather than, wait a minute, was it here, 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 here? But what guides all of that is the spirit of openness and sharing. And again, that's a big, big thing of my, honestly, my pleasure and the honor of working with you all, because you're resilient and you're so amazing. So thank you. Have a great,
Can I share one thing?
Yes, Greta.
I have my screening, my shield. I don't know if anyone's gotten their equipment yet, but this is early childhood screening at its best for COVID.
How does it feel?
It's really light. It's really good. Yeah, it comes up and off really easily. It's just one piece of plexiglass or whatever this is, and then on some frames, and it goes over my readers. The trickery is when I don't want my readers on, but yeah, it goes really well. So the new age, here we are.
There you go.
It's pretty good. And you can see my smile and you can see my words.
You so, decorate it with little rhinestones or something.
I know, I'm thinking about maybe a Bitmoji over here, Sarah. Alrighty. There we go.
Oh, this is great. Well, again, remember everyone, so next week we'll have 3 opportunities for conversation on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I'll have more information about that. So take Tuesday off of your calendar. And then, but I will also be sending something out next week to find a good time for us to continue to meet. And it could end up being Tuesdays at noon, but we'll find out. But for next week alone, we'll do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'll let you know which topic, major topic. One will be on curriculum and instruction and sort of teaching methods and that sort of thing coming into the new year. Another one will be on equity and access and outreach and such. And then the third one's going to be on relationships and relationship building, relationship maintenance. And so all those should feel like pretty common themes, because they do build on the things we've been talking about since the spring. So thank you all.